Greater Good Radio. Connect, learn, heal, and grow.
What was your first business?
Working with Elvis Presley at 6.5. No, that was really my first job when you think about it. And you know, even at that age, I am so thankful that I had that experience because I think that experience taught me a lot about discipline. We had to get up really early and practice lines, read the script.
Could you tell us what the role was and what you did?
Well, I played the role...
And how it came about?
Well, that's the interesting question. I played the role of a matchmaker. I mean, it's really a typical Elvis movie. Matchmaker, girl meets boy, you know, Elvis is the boy. But that role was actually supposed to go to my sister, Ginny. As you know, I said earlier, she had been discovered by Ed Sullivan. She's very talented. She had done one movie with Elvis called Girls, and she had a very small part in it. And the same director wanted her for this movie that he did, I think it was like a year after Girls, called It Happened at the World's Fair. Well, my father, bless his heart, he'd already committed Ginny to perform for the late President John Kennedy. And so he was like, oh, I cannot cancel that. So he starts looking at me, and I think this idea came on, and he told me that I'd been selected, okay? And of course, I was all excited. And then he sent me with a governess, I mean, somebody I didn't even know that well, because my mom and dad had to accompany Ginny. So here I am, the minute I walked in, even a 6-year-old could tell. I knew from the face, the director's face, it's like, this is not the girl we had selected. So they had me read for the part, and I did, and I was like, oh, how could you do this, Dad? But I just went for it, and then the next thing I knew, we were flying up to Seattle. You know, it was the World's Fair, 1962. But what an experience, and Elvis was the nicest man. I mean, such a gentleman. I remember there was one scene, and I was just homesick. And so I started to stutter and, you know, my lines. And you know how it is when you start stammering? It gets worse with every take. I mean, this must have been like 30 takes. It was bad. And I knew it was going to get worse. And the director was Norman Torok, who was a really big guy. And I was so intimidated. And then I just remember my relief when Elvis said, that's a wrap. The little lady and I are going for dinner. And he took me to dinner, and I started crying and telling him how homesick I was, because my family, they weren't with me. It was just this governess. And he listened, and the next day we did the same scene. I just went right through it, you know, no problems. And that stood on my mind that, you know, when you have that kind of influence, if you can make people feel good about themselves or feel better, make them feel comfortable, what it can do. I mean, here I am, 44 years later, and I still remember what he did. And it was a great experience. And interestingly, you know, Kurt Russell, the actor, he got his debut on that film. And he had a very small part. And we were being tutored together. And I remember he was telling me how much, oh, I really like this. When I get out of school, this is what I'm going to do, you know. And I was telling him, that's not what I'm going to do. So you can see I do laundry. I was just too young, I think, to be away from the family. But it was a wonderful experience, all of about 2.5 months. And taught me a lot about discipline, about being, I think, you know, on stage. Although I remember when I was doing the scenes, I really felt like I was the character. Sue Lin was her name. And it was wonderful to be able to go to a city like Seattle in all its glory then for the World's Fair. So it was a great learning experience.
If you resonate with Greater Good Radio, please join our community at www.greatergoodradio.com, where you can get access to exclusive content and offerings. Hope to see you soon.